Hello, my fantasy friends. I'm the Raging Redhead Cam Stewart from HotRoster today, and happy 2017, folks. With the changing of the calendar year, you're probably long overdue on making some changes to your fantasy basketball team. But don't worry, I'm here to help you out. Ring in the new year with players you should be targeting on that waiver wire and on HotRoster, and for those, you should look to avoid this week too. In the off chance you have Rajon Rondo, you might be in need of a guard. And one guy you should be targeting is Malcolm Brogdon of the Milwaukee Bucks. Brogdon recorded his first triple-double of his career this past weekend, and he's quickly becoming a must-own fantasy player. Since Matthew Dellavedova went down with a hammy injury, Brogdon has grown as a starter over the last 3 games, averaging 12 points, 5 boards, and 7 assists too, and his play has earned him over 30 minutes per game on the court. Brogdon also likely earned himself more minutes with his performance, even when Delly comes back from his injury. He's possibly the top rookie guard this season. That's why this guy is a must-own, and you gotta play him on HotRoster. Some people might have scoffed at the idea this summer, but the Heat paying a premium to keep Tyler Johnson is certainly paying off now. Over his past 7 appearances, Johnson has averaged 17 points, shooting 51% from beyond the arc, and is averaging well over 31 minutes per game. Part of that was because of the absence of Goran Dragic, but that shouldn't stop you from grabbing this guy. Johnson is without a doubt one of the best 6 men in the NBA right now. That's why he's played the entire 4th quarter in 10 of his last 15 games, despite not even being a starter. There's also a chance that Dragic could be traded later this winter. So if I were you, I'd buy Johnson's stock now before it goes through the roof, and you need to pick this guy up and look out for him on HotRoster. One forward who I'm loving this week is Montrezl Harrell of the Houston Rockets. This is a guy who might have already been claimed on your wire, but if he's still available, stop doing what you're doing now and pick him up now. Since Clint Capella went down for the Rockets, Harrell has becoming the team's starting center. And over his last 6 games, he's rewarded Houston and his fantasy owners with 13 points in those 5 contests. One of those games was a 29-point performance against the Clippers, which included making 9 of 11 free throws. Overall, Harrell ranked as a top 75 in rotisserie scoring leagues in the month of December. When Capella gets back, his role will likely diminish significantly, but for now, you need to ride Harrell's coattails. Well, it was only a matter of time, but it's time to cut Tim Frazier of the Pelicans loose and send him back to the waiver wire. Although Frazier managed to stay relevant through the return of Tyreek Evans and Drew Holiday, it all eventually caught up to the Penn State product. He's only logged 13 minutes over his previous 2 outings, and Alvin Gentry went as far as not playing the guard over the Pelicans' last 3 games. His value is basically non-existent anymore, especially since Evans and Holiday are both healthy and playing well. You might think stashing this guy on your bench is a good idea because Holiday or Evans might go down, but you just can't justify keeping Frazier for only that reason. Plus, there are better options on that waiver wire that you can replace him with. And lastly, one player that I'm done with and you should avoid on HotRoster is DeMarre Carroll of the Toronto Raptors. Despite being cleared to play in back-to-back games, Carroll has become an increasingly frustrating player in fantasy basketball. In his most recent games against the Spurs, Suns, and Lakers, he's combined for only 17 points. And over his last 6 outings, Carroll has averaged a dismal 33% shooting from the floor. He's just not a guy you can trust, and his minutes are still being limited because of concerns for his health. You'll likely want to keep him stashed on your bench, and I get why you would, but on HotRoster, there's no way I'm taking a chance on this guy. I'd bet against him all week long. Well, that's it for today, my fantasy friends. Make sure you tune in tomorrow when we take a look at some of the matchups available on HotRoster for Thursday's slate of NHL games. And for those of you who don't know what HotRoster is, you gotta check it out. Go to HotRoster.com, download the app, give it a try. It's like no other fantasy game you've ever played. And then for help in winning the game, check out HotRoster today with me and my buddy Gary and Thorne every weekday at 4:30 Eastern, only on the Fantasy Sports Network. For HotRoster now, I'm Cam Stewart, and I'll see you next time.